In this episode, you'll hear some sensitive topics. So, with this trigger warning, if you have little ones around, please grab your headphones now.
So I got worse. They kept throwing pain pills at me, medications at me. Then they decided that I had condition that was degenerating my spine and causing my hips to degenerate. So I had to have hip replacement surgery. Then I got blood clots, then I got et cetera, so forth and so on. And they threw more medicine at it. I got sick. I couldn't take medicines. I was ill. And it just seemed like the entire world started caving in on top of me. It was a horrible time. In a moment of desperation, I had a vision that my grandmother, who was prior deceased, came to me in my sleep in my home. And she told me to get up. We had work to do. And she walked me into our kitchen. And in that, she pulled out herbs and made oils and pastes and salves all night long. And before dawn, in this vision, she said, "Okay, I have to go. You know what to do."
Folks, this week's guest is my new friend, Andrea Bailey-Tweed, certified aromatherapist. From the depths of despair as she experienced deteriorating health, how did Andrea revitalize her physical and mental body through essential oils? What did she learn as she dove into the world of aromatherapy? You'll definitely want to tune in to hear Andrea's story. Let's cue the intro. Welcome to the Boom Vision Podcast, the show that empowers you to live an enriching life physically, mentally, and spiritually. I am your host, Benjamin Ye, and I created this podcast to give you perspectives on how to strengthen your mindset so that you can build optimal health, create aligned wealth, and connect with your higher self. It's all interconnected. Let's get to work. Folks, welcome back to episode 75 of the Boom Vision Podcast. I'm excited to share today's interview with my new friend, Andrea Bailey-Tweed, who I was introduced through our mutual friend, Brooke Young. After meeting Andrea and hearing her life story, I knew I had to invite her on our show. As a brief background, Andrea Bailey-Tweed spent decades of her life in radio and television broadcasting, followed by a high-intensity career as a top-level communications professional within the United States government. Then she suffered a major health crisis, which not only ended her career, but her health took a downward spiral. Years of countless doctor visits, surgeries, and medications were unsuccessful as her health continued to deteriorate. Before giving up, she was tasked to take charge of her own destiny and health. She employed the power of aromatherapy with phenomenal results. The use of essential oils not only helped restore her health, but helped her settle into herself and make peace with her life. Today, she is a certified aromatherapist and founder of Earth's Own Essentials, LLC. Her goal is to empower people to be proactive in their health care. So without further ado, here's Andrea. Andrea Bailey-Tweed, welcome to the Boom Vision Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here, Ben. I'm so excited.
It is such a pleasure having you, and I would love to dive right in. Let's begin with your origin story. How did it all start for you, and what's led to the current path that you are on today?
That's a mouthful. Initially, I will start by saying I had origins through my grandmother of understanding the earth and that all things good come from the earth. She was a Cherokee Indian. She raised us on herbs and natural living. So that foundation began early in my life. I went through high school, college, and my early adult years thinking that I was doing all things right. I was taking my vitamins. I was working out regularly. I was a semi-athlete in school. I ate well. I cooked home cooked meals, did everything that according to science, says that you're supposed to do, and you'll stay healthy and you'll be well. In my career, I went from radio broadcasting and television broadcasting into working with the US government Federal Emergency Management Agency. So I was deployed in many horrific disaster operations. And then from there, after being there many years, I went into another level of government that utilized my skills on a more intense level. During that time, I started experiencing pain in my legs and moments where, say, if I picked up a glass to just drink some water, if I wasn't paying attention to that, I just lose feeling and drop it. So after several visits to the doctor's office, telling them about the sharp pains that I was having in my legs and lower half of my body, they initially first determined that I was having problems with my appendix. So we had a surgery to remove my appendix. And we went in and they found out that my appendix was in perfect condition. So they closed me up and sent me home. I went through several other doctors, specialists in a year's time while the pain continued to get worse. And no one could seem to agree exactly on what was happening to me. And one day, coming out of a government building, I completely lost feeling. I was standing and talking to someone, and the next thing I knew was I was at the bottom of 3 flights of concrete steps. And first, there was nothing but embarrassment. So I tried to pretend like everything was fine and I was okay. They helped me up and got me to the car, et cetera, and so forth. But that was the onset of me knowing that something very serious was wrong. I demobed at that time and I came home and my doctor sent me to an orthopedic specialist who first told me that L5 and L6 were damaged and I needed to fuse them. So, in fear, because pain is a motivator, you want to trust and believe that the medical system knows. And I did not know. I had no idea what to do. I went for that surgery, but it wasn't what the problem was. So I got worse. They kept throwing pain pills at me, physical therapy at me, medications at me. Then they decided that I had condition that was degenerating my spine and causing my hips to degenerate. So I had to have hip replacement surgery. Then I got blood clots, then I got et cetera, so forth and so on. And they threw more medicine at it. I got sick. I couldn't take medicines. I was ill. And it just seemed like the entire world started caving in on top of me. It was a horrible time. It was mentally, I was supposed to be up helping people. I wasn't supposed to be down and ill myself. I watched my husband stressing because some men aren't nurturers. They don't know how to take care of situations like that. And the children were frantic because their mom was very ill and they're not used to seeing that. And I was having head problems because I'm watching them and I'm feeling for myself. And all those things combined just continued to make the situation worse. In conversations going forth with the doctors and other surgeons that I ended up seeing, no one seemed to ever agree what the cause was, what was happening, or a cure. And I underscore the word cure because there's only so many pills and so much cutting in that you can do until you absolutely say enough. And in so doing, I had what I would call a come to Jesus moment, where I literally, in a moment where it was almost do or die for myself, I realized that Western allopathic medicine was not going to get me back on my feet. It was not going to make me strong, and it was not going to heal the many things and combinations and side effects that were continually happening. And I was getting lost in the system. And the more that I complained or raised, and God forbid you ask questions, they don't like it when you ask questions. You're not supposed to know, you're just supposed to go along with the program. In a moment of desperation, I had a vision that my grandmother, who was prior deceased, came to me in my sleep in my home. And she told me to get up. We had work to do. And she walked me into our kitchen. And in that, she pulled out herbs and made oils and pastes and salves all night long. And before dawn, in this vision, she said, "Okay, I have to go. You know what to do." And when my husband got up to get me prepared for the next day, he looked at me and told me that my entire ambiance had changed. And he asked me what had happened. And I told him, and I said, "Well, I need to order these things and I need to start doing something, maybe aromatherapy." I think she was telling me to do aromatherapy and it would help. And he said, "Well, let's do it." And I kind of laughed because I don't think on little levels, I think on the grand scale. So starting in aromatherapy meant that I had to get the coursework, I had to take the classes, but I also needed immediately to try to work on some things so that I could do what I had seen. And I talked about the cost, and he kind of laughed and said, "Is it more than 7 surgeries?" And I said, "No, actually, no, it's not." So that began my path to healing. Once everything came in, I looked up every symptom I had and for every oil, and I went to the top of the list of oils because I felt like I needed serious help. And I came up with a formulation that I still have and use and sell today. And within days, I started noticing that I was not feeling some of the horrible feelings that I had used to feel. But I had to test it because it was so surprising that I wasn't sure that what was happening was actually happening. So I would wait until I had periods where I was in tears from pain. And I would then try putting this oil all over me again and actually see if realistically it was actually stopping it. And it was. And within a month, I started being able to feel my legs again. I could feel myself touch my fingertips. I called on some of my very dear friends, one who happened to be a massage therapist, very skilled, and a chiropractor. And they worked together on me probably 3 days a week, every week for over a year, getting me to the point where I could stand, I could walk. I could actually even find myself at times laughing, where I could eat and I was digesting food, and I came back to life. And it was the greatest experience I can say I've had till date because I wasn't ready to die. I wasn't ready to give up on my life. I wasn't ready to leave my husband and my kids. And then I had to recreate myself because I no longer had a career. I could not stand being at home doing nothing. And I kind of joked at the hundreds of thousands of dollars in trainings that I had been put through to not utilize. And one day, someone was telling me about a friend of theirs who had gone through a horrific surgery. And I said, "Oh, I can make something for them. Ask them if they would be interested in trying this." And they said, kind of like what I said, "I'd do anything at this point." And it worked. And they told another friend. And you know how word of mouth goes. So I started deciding that first I would only sell proprietary blends, the blends that I made for people. And then it kind of expanded from there. I am not a huge operation, but I am comfortable in what I do. And one of the things that I made a promise to God was if He got me back up, I would do whatever I could do to share this blessing with other people because I know that I am not the only one who's gotten lost in the system. The only one who doesn't feel like pain pills and muscle relaxers is the answer. And if I can be instrumental in being that stopgap for people, then that's what I would like to do. So that's how I got here. Long, ugly road, but now I'm smiling and praising God for it.
Yeah. Andrea, so as a frame of reference, just so I can understand, when you first had that vision where your grandmother came and helped
Mhm.
you throughout the night and that morning, how many years ago was that?
11 years ago.
11 years ago. Okay. And when you're saying she gave you these information to be able to create, through use of aromatherapy through essential oils, once you created it, was that something where was it like ointment where you're basically rubbing it against your skin, or was that through a diffuser or
It's a topical blend that I made.
mm,
Topical blends have essential oils in them and a carrier oil that can keeps your skin from being damaged by the oils. So pretty much it's in a bottle, you shake it up and rub it wherever you hurt.
got it.
This particular blend has a combination of oils that would be considered on the high end of the oils. It's the helichrysums, the German chamomiles, some rose and some valerian and some really, really fine herbs that work on the whole of the body. It wasn't just designed for pain, it was particularly designed to keep balance in my head, keep me straight, keep me focused on other things other than how bad I was, to help me through those times. And with the medications that I had taken, and I don't know that you've ever been on them, but if someone's listening, the more medication you take and you start developing stomach problems, and then they want to give you medication for the medication that they gave you for the stomach problem. And my digestive system was pretty much destroyed.
Mm,
So this also had herbs and oils in it. The ginger, say ginger works great on the stomach, but it's also magnificent for pain and circulation. So it had a threefold effect. And that's kind of the wonder of oils. You may use it for one particular thing, but find out that because of the chemical constituents in it, that it's working on something else that you might not have even known was
yeah.
wrong. So the combination of oils that I put together for that was truly to cover the whole of the person. And it did, it does. And in certain varying degrees, now that I am a clinical aromatherapist, I can make it for post-surgical. I can make it for someone who just has, I've been running and I kind of have some stiff muscles or something, or for those who are chronic pain sufferers who
Mm.
suffer on a daily basis.
So, Andrea, I have a question for you because as I'm feeling this rich energy of the story you just shared, what I heard was that prior to the start of the loss of this, physical feeling sensation, right, through your legs and throughout your body, it sounded like you were living a pretty healthy life. I mean, you ate right, you exercised right. So healthy living was already sort of ingrained as almost like a daily habit. Did you,
Absolutely.
yeah, so did you feel at that time prior to going through this physical pain journey, would you say you led a holistic living? What would the difference between healthy living and holistic living, right? Like, were you introduced to aromatherapy even before that, or you just knew about it, you didn't really dive in deep, or I'm wondering how did that
I,
integrate?
throughout my years, I have studied many practices, lifestyles, religions, just for curiosity's sake. And because my grandmother was very much, I would call her more an herbalist as opposed to aromatherapist. Aromatherapy is when you take the plants and you actually process them either through mainly steam distillation or cold pressing, and you extract the essence, the oil, the heart of that plant, and you use it for yourself. Herbalism is more when you take the plant, you turn it into a poultice, and you either make teas or you make creams or things where it's actually the leaves and flowers. So actually, aromatherapy essential oils are thousands of times more potent
Mm,
than herbal products are because you're using so many more of them to get that oil in that bottle. My favorite example as it takes 75 pounds of lavender leaves to make a kilo of lavender essential oil. It takes 10,000 pounds of rose petals to make 1 kilo of rose essential oil. The difference in that kilo of lavender may cost you, depending upon, $50 to $70. That kilo of rose essential oil is going to cost you multiple thousands of oils.
Right.
You don't use or need anywhere near the amount of that rose because one drop is so amazingly potent. And in the variation, in the scheme of all the plants that God made, there are varying amounts that are used and processed, but they are always, when you get them pure, carry the life forces of a farm,
Mm.
of a farm of plants. And as they say on some vitamin commercials, you can never get that much
Mm.
if you've tried to put it in yourself.
Mm.
So it is key that when you're using it and when you're doing it, that if you talk to a certified aromatherapist like myself, we have more of an understanding. We take trainings, we spend hundreds of hours putting together, learning about the ethnobiology of plants and human anatomy and dis-ease that causes disease in the body. It's mind, body, and spirit, no matter what you do. And you cannot just work on one part and think
Yeah.
that the whole is going to heal.
Well, so I want to dive further to that rabbit hole you just mentioned, which is mind,
Opened
body,
up.
and spirit. Because, and so maybe to further clarify what I meant by healthy living versus holistic living, it seems like you were doing everything right, at least on the surface of just a physical body of eating right, exercising right. But
Mhm.
when I think of holistic living, it's really taking a different level of mind, body, and spirit, not just only the body. And then what I heard from your story is that it almost took this journey of hitting a very hard roadblock physically of the challenges that seems to escalate as you were just treating it from the symptom level of, wait, what's really the root cause of this? And you kind of have to almost zoom out to look at it from a almost multidimensional way of mind, body, spirit. And that's how I would define holistic through the right means that work for everyone, right? Because there's never one solution that catches all per se. It really depends on
Correct.
what's the best for that person. And this is just more of an observation of what I'm sensing from hearing your story is that something triggered, and maybe perhaps it was the vision from your grandmother of like, wait, if modern medicine isn't going to give you the answer to get out of the pitfall that you're currently stuck in, then let me give you another perspective. Let me give you another solution of that. And it sounds like it really set you on a very beautiful path that evolved in the last 11 years. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. Actually, you're triggering even more thoughts as we're talking about that. That path, when a person gets to the point, and I would assume this is that mind, body, spirit thing, I would assume from that and another near death experience that when you are blessed to experience that, no matter how horrific it is, your mind and body and spirit has to face, um, you have to face what you're going through. And sometimes that will take you so far or so deep when all you have is in your head to a level of what some people would say counseling or psychology. But you have to realize and accept things that you did not realize could possibly have, how this could have something that happened to you 10 or 15 years ago could possibly have a trigger in what's happening now. Okay. In listening to another of your programs, when you talk about family history or family dynamics and how things work in your life when you are on your bed or when you are going through, to negate that is to shut a door on your healing. You have to realize everything. I did not realize how angry I was getting.
Mm.
I didn't realize how I was shutting people out that I really wanted around me, but I didn't want to have to nurture them. I needed to nurture myself. I didn't want to see you come and tell me, wow, you still look good. I really wanted to say, what does that have to do with how I feel? What does that have to do with the fact that I can't function, that I can't get up, that I can't cook for my family? And it's in those moments that you have to make that decision. Either you are going to get up, you're going to take any opportunity, no matter how random it may sound, how high, how ridiculous. I mean, my chiropractor practiced Twaina. It's called Hurt the Pain. And I used to laugh and say, I can't believe I'm paying you to hurt me. And he would tell me how, monks would, when you had people that would travel for the 3 days to visit and they throw them down the steps, I'm like, yeah, well, you break up everything else, you'll feel better. But it's in that creative, cartoony kind of picture that you create in your mind that you realize that all of you is broken. And sometimes you yourself are helping to perpetrate the things that you're trying to get out of, but you just really don't know how. Does that make sense?
It does. I'm feeling the body chills here, and I'll explain why. When I'm listening to it, coincidentally, it reminds me of just the last episode I just shared about, finding the gift in failure. And sometimes when people hit certain roadblocks or failures in life, at least that's their perception of what it is, they might call it a setback. And what I shared in the previous episode is that it's if you're able to reframe the perspective rather than feeling the failure or the obstacle you've encountered as a setback, it's actually a set up, right? It's setting yourself up like a
Yeah.
springboard where you needed to almost go through that and then make a decision. Do I have the willpower and desire to get myself out of this? And once I do, to then be able to spring forward from it. And from
Mm-hmm.
that, then it's really a set up. It's not a setback. It's just what you needed to go through to get to that next level. And I hear a lot of that energy of what you've gone through because there's a tremendous amount of energy for you to really climb out of that hole, metaphorically speaking. But
Mm-hmm.
it starts with you deciding, I'm going to climb out of that today. And I felt it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so I just wanted to
And
acknowledge
it's,
what I just heard.
yes. And it's not just, I'm going to climb out. It's reconciling that the fight has really only begun.
Yeah.
It has only begun. Now comes the hard part.
Mm.
And I still thank everybody a lot because I would tell them, I don't particularly want to go through this. Don't particularly want to hurt like this. So I may try to come up with excuses, or I may use some colorful metaphors, but please don't walk away from me. Please, if you have to use those colorful metaphors back at me, even to my son who was an athlete and kept pushing me, please do understand that I am weak and it hurts. And the whole thing that you want to get through is you don't want to hurt, but you don't realize still that you have to hurt so that you
Mm.
stop hurting. And that analogy can go so far in life and in so many situations. It's not just musculoskeletal. People have respiratory conditions. They have skin conditions, neurological conditions, the depression and the PTSD that people are going through, the anxiety of a day-to-day situation. I can't do the psychological part, but there are oils that actually work wonders in meditation and spiritual thought in helping just to keep you when you're on edge and you feel like you're freaking out, that balance you in ways that medicine can't.
Mm.
I am not, and I will, every time I say this, I will, whoever's listening, I am not knocking modern medicine. There's a need for it. Aromatherapists, we can't diagnose. We can't write prescriptions. We are truly a alternative to some situations. If you've got colds, you've got flu, you've got stress, you're dealing with fatigue, a lot of female problems, mood swings, digestive problems, those are things, viruses. There are no medicines for viruses, but there are plenty antiviral herbs and oils. When people decide that you want to take your life back, or as you said, you want to spring forward from where you are, rather than sometimes take a moment to think about other alternatives first. Many women today now are also hearing, oh, you need knee replacements, you need hip replacements, your joints are aching, we need to do something surgical. But not many people until recently started realizing those symptoms also are very serious symptoms of menopause. And menopause is very easily supported through essential oils.
Hmm.
Okay. I can think of, because I know what my body has been through, I can think of those thousands of people who are going, wow, maybe I really didn't need to do that. Because once you cut, it's not the same body.
Hmm.
It is not the same body. We can do all kinds of things to help and to supplement and to do those things. As I said, I thought you're doing that healthy living. But if you have a job you hate getting up to every day that's your brain triggering some dis-ease in you. It's gnawing at your stomach, it's putting pressure on your shoulders, it's stressing your heart. So I suggest that in those moments where you have enough time to stop and think about what's happening in your life, you can also find out what's happening in your body. Your body truly will give you symptoms. It will let you know, and it doesn't wait, okay, maybe in cancer, but we're not talking cancer. It doesn't wait until the last moment to let you know that there's something wrong. It's the fact that we have such busy minds here that we are, oh, I'm going to take an aspirin and I'm going to keep on running. I'm going to keep on. I have to take the kids to school. I have to get to work on time. I can't be late anymore. The bills are due. You need to put food on the table. You don't have time for this. So if you don't have time for this, you have to take time for yourself. And that's what people don't understand. If you don't take time for you, it's going to catch up with you. Self-healing, self-love, take those moments ahead of time. And then you might not end up in the place that's so low you have to crawl out of.
Hmm. So, Andrea, I like to transition to what you mentioned earlier about oils. So, let's dive into that. When you think about, call it aromatherapy 101,
Mm-hmm.
to the layman's where they have really no experience or exposure to essential oils or what it's about, what is it in the most basic terms and what is it not?
Basically, aromatherapy is using natural oils from flowers or bark, stems, leaves, roots of plants to support health and well-being for the body. That is mental and physical and even spiritual. There are oils, not like drugs that take you into an altered state, but there are oils that can seriously sedate and that people have used for millennia to meditate upon. Okay. Used in religious practices or made into incenses. So aromatherapy is a complementary, holistic approach to taking care of yourself. You can inhale it, you can apply it to the skin, it can cause drastic change in your life. What it isn't is a substitute for medical treatment. We cannot diagnose. While it can complement the medical treatment, it truly cannot replace it. We're not trying to say that we're doctors, but if you came to me and say you had high blood pressure, there are natural ways that oils can help lower blood pressure, help with hypertension and stress, help you to sleep at night, which automatically is going to lower blood pressure and help you to relax. So there are things that we can do that are in complement to it, and they're non-invasive. Oils go into your body either through inhalation or topically. They enter into your bloodstream, they go through your body, your circulatory system, and they exit. No side effects. They are not like medicines that stay in your body and build up over time and do things and cause side effects to you. So they can work good, well, hand in hand. In most countries, other than the United States, aromatherapy is a practice of medicine, even in European countries. In the United States, it's considered just complementary. But so was chiropractic 20, 30 years ago. And now you
Hmm.
can't have surgery unless you've seen a chiropractor. So we're trying to work on that and
Hmm.
broaden the knowledge of what essential oils are and what possibilities they do, and particularly for any women who are listening, for household cleaning, for keeping your air fresh and clean, and sustainability for children who have colds all the time. It's a very economical and safe way to practice
Hmm.
wellness.
Andrea, I'm curious, what
Mm.
is one misconception about aromatherapy that you wish you can
Mm.
help dispel for the general public?
That anyone can use essential oils anyway. Many companies that sell, larger companies, the larger MLMs, will tell people that you can use essential oils anyway. You can drop some drops in your coffee or your water or your orange juice in the morning, or that you can just drop some lavender on your skin. All of those are non-truths that can lead to very serious health conditions.
Hmm.
Carrier oils are vegetable oils. The least would be olive oil, not a Crisco or vegetable oil like that. But carrier oils, argan oil, jojoba oil, are oils that you can mix it's called dilute, and you dilute with essential oils. So say you had a teaspoon of a carrier oil like jojoba oil, the maximum number of essential oils, pure essential oils that you would drop into that teaspoon would be about 4. And those 4 drops can work wonders in your body. And again, they go in and they come out. There is much debate on this. Any bottle that you read will say avoid eyes and mucous membranes. Everyone who knows anything about the body knows that from the tongue out in, you're all mucous membrane. So if you're putting essential oils directly on your skin, there are several things that could happen, particularly if it's a citrus oil, orange, lime, something like that. Is skin sensitization, which can sometimes end up, depending upon how you're doing it, or if you put it on and you go sit on the beach and you're tanning, you could end up with very severe third-degree burns.
Hmm.
If you are ingesting, it can damage your digestive system horrifically. There are ways that we are trained that a person can take it. It's using capsules or soluble products so that the oil is encapsulated in it so that it is not interfering with the processing in your bloodstream. And with the topical application, hopefully, most times, if it's applied appropriately and you're not allergic, because there should always be a skin test to make sure you're not. And within 5 minutes, you would know. You put a little bit of the oil in the carrier, just put it on your skin. And if you don't start seeing little rash, then everything's fine.
Hmm.
So simple to do, hard to understand. And
Hmm.
the other is that essential oils are safe for children. That is another non-truth.
Hmm.
Well, there's truth within that. Essential oils, I've already told you how it can process from 75 pounds to 10,000 pounds to make a kilo. So they are very, very strong. Babies, infants, their whole systems are pure. They don't need that kind of oil or medicine up in them. We have what's called hydrosols, and hydrosols are the waters that the leaf material is processed in that makes the essential oil. So that runoff is in a water base, and it's called a hydrosol. And that hydrosol still has chemical constituents, but at a much lesser level than the full undiluted essential oil. And doing that to help a baby, say if a baby has colic and you spray your shoulder with some lavender essential oils or their linen and lay them down, then they're not getting too much, but just enough to soothe their little systems. Okay. Obviously, we know bug bites, rashes, and things that come out of the ground that do same thing. If you sprayed a lavender hydrosol on a child less than 2 years old, between 2 and 10, there's a smaller, lesser level of dilution that you would use at a 1%, which would be 1 drop per teaspoon of essential oil, of carrier oil. Maybe going a little too deep, but that is truly that thing that is not true and should not be repeated and reciprocated.
Hmm. So, to summarize what I just heard from you, it's basically not all essential oils are treated equal. And it sounds like, depending on the situation, whether it's an adult, whether it's a child, you really should consult with someone that is a specialist or can really understand what it is that you're going through to help be able to share what's the right delivery mechanism for the
Correct.
person. It's not
Mhm.
just a one size fits all type of,
Not at all.
it's kind of what I'm hearing.
Not at all.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Generally, there are certain things that you can say if you're at an event or I'm a vendor at an event, again, speaking for myself,
Yeah.
my blends are made at what we call a 3% dilution. 3% will benefit John Q. Public. And as long as you don't have any hidden issues or health concerns, most people, most oils, most blends would be great for those people that I sell to.
Hmm.
If you came to me and you are taking blood thinners, then I need to make sure that anything that I am bringing to you, so you have a burn on your leg and I'm supporting that, I still need to know that oil is going to enter your body and you're taking blood thinners. So I wouldn't use a basil or an oregano on that to help your skin because it has anticoagulant properties. So there are things that, as a certified or registered aromatherapist, we know to look for the contraindications. We know to look for the safety hazards and the warnings that come with each oil.
Hmm.
And then we can make a blend. And so that's why, with a proper intake, those things, just like if you go to a doctor's office, can be easily talked about, discussed, and worked around.
Yeah. So, Andrea, what I love about storytelling is that we can resonate with people's stories and experiences because there's bits of it that we can relate to because we might have been going through it or are currently going through that. And so, why I'm sharing that is I'd love to just listen to, do you have any experiences you can share of either your past or current clients that you've helped in a meaningful way through this medium of aromatherapy?
I do. Actually, two very significant ones that I can think of. I have an elderly client who has a heart condition and diabetes. In the course of communications once through Facebook, she was asking for prayer and saying that she may have to have her foot amputated. So I called her because she had already been a client and asked her what was going on. And she told me that her leg had just turned black with infection, and the doctor said that they wanted to amputate. And I said, why? Why would you amputate? And she says, well, I have infection. She was kind of offended. I asked that question. And I said, so when is your surgery? And it was scheduled for like 2 weeks out. And I said, if I make something for you to fight this infection, would you use it? And you will have to use it religiously several times a day. But I can pretty much assume that done the right way, that this infection will go away and clear up. And it did. And it saved her foot. She is one of my biggest advocates at this time. And she tells me regularly how much that meant to her. I have another gentleman who recently broke his foot And in the process of them trying to figure out why, discovered that he too was diabetic. And the heel portion of his foot was not healing. And I told him, well, I've got an oil for that. And he said, no, I'm gonna go in and let him take this medicine. And I said, well, if you really have diabetes and you start cutting out infection, it's gonna get worse. And so the spouse was a non-believer, and ultimately he lost his heel, and infection set up. Fast forward, the same thing, and they wanted to amputate more. And I said, I can't make you do this. It's up to you, even over your spouse. This is your body. I have an oil that can help fight that infection. You can continue taking your medication. I can write down in detail what it's going to do, how, et cetera, and so forth. So he agreed to do it, and it cleared the infection, and he didn't have to lose the rest of his foot. Those are extremes. I have a cutter, a young lady, honor student, was about to graduate from high school and go to college, and her parents or her mother was assuming that her nervousness and anxiety was because she was going to school. And in the course of that space between graduation and college, something occurred and she ended up in the hospital, and they realized that she had been cutting herself. So they took her, and of course, she was receiving counseling, but she was very standoffish with the counselor. And I have a product called Zen. It's for like serious PTSD. And I suggested, well, here, why don't you just diffuse some of this while you're in the room with her? Okay. And this is again that difference between a willing person. This was in the air. So it balanced her out, and it balanced out everybody else in the family as well. But it wasn't so bad because it was diffusing that or something that she had to do regularly. And so she ultimately, after a few weeks, decided to have a heart to heart with her mother and tell her mother what led to those things. And it was rape that she was holding in, that she was blaming herself for, that she didn't know how to communicate. And oils do those things. They help you just to get to the fact. It's not a rational, okay, your brain is telling you now you can talk, it's safe, or you're in a safe area. The oils themselves have chemical constituents that balance out that part, that trauma that you have gone through, that helps you kind of step back and not and see it more as an outsider. So she was able to be supported and healed. Now, these aren't always going to be, there's some people that may take 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 different blends of things. Myself, if I have you as a personal client and I make a blend customized for you, Ben, and you say, well, this works. I like how I feel about this, but when it comes to some other things, I still may feel a little off. Then when you tell me those things, we're going to talk about it a little further, and I'm going to formulate you another blend, but I'm not going to charge you for that one. My part of my job is to make sure that I am giving you what you need to move forward. So if that first one is an experiment, then the second one should not be at your cost. I eat that cost because we've just balanced that out. And then from there, okay, yeah, this works. I'm doing better here. Good. We're all happy. There are lots of good ones. There are just, some small is just, you help me with eczema and clear my eczema, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, one underlying theme I'm hearing and thank you for sharing those experiences is that the recipient of it, it feels like they do need to meet you halfway. There needs to be that, I think it's awareness and desire to be open, right?
Yes.
And so it segues to this next question. There's a statement, right? Seeing is believing or believing is seeing, you know?
Mhm.
And we could probably dive for hours talking about this, but I'm wondering which belief resonates most with you? And has that been consistent or has that changed over the years in your own personal journey or the journeys you've helped in the clients that you serve?
Wow, that's a really good one. My answer would be both. Seeing is believing, and believing is seeing. And that has worked for me intermittently my entire life. I think in my youth, my formative years, where things you didn't have to challenge like you do now. I told you I studied and experimented with lots of things. I used to love to meditate. I used to love to read about other religions, other places. And I was one of those people who enjoyed learning about the differences and really finding out that people really aren't different. You know, we may be geologically or geographically separated, but people aren't different. So seeing is believing suggests that there's like this hard, tangible evidence and that says this is proof. And believing is seeing comes more from the internal spirit. It could be religion, it could be psychology, it could be your upbringing, but they all kind of intermingle. There are people in recent years who would tell you some of the things that we've seen happen in America did not happen. When there's video of it, this is exactly what happened, and this is how it happened. To me, you see this is tangible proof what's wrong with you. But there are some who, by choice, say, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil. That did not happen. And they convince themselves of that. This young lady who was cutting herself convinced herself that she was a bad person because someone took advantage of her and tried to destroy herself. So it's a reality factor. It's all in how you are brought up, how you have chosen to look at perspectives in life, and how you've chosen to grow. Because when you grow and when you acknowledge that everything isn't black and white, that the majority of things really are gray, that there really is a metaphysical world, that there is a spiritual world, and that there is a creator, no matter what name you give him. Those aren't tangible, concrete evidence that you put in your hand, but it's in the wind, it's in the things that you see, it's in childbirth. So it has to be a happy medium of them. And that's pretty much how I've evolved that. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's real and just not real. And just because you see it doesn't mean that it is. And I kind of like that. I like that dichotomy.
Hmm. What I've learned through, my own journey of living this holistic living is that it's like the more I learn, the more I realize how much I don't know.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I get very humbled by that. And at the same time, it allows me to be more open to listening and to see if it resonates. Because again, not everything is going to work for everyone. You just have to figure out what's the right way that works for you. But part of that exploration, I feel, what makes that path a little easier is when you can almost dance in that line of seeing is believing and believing is seeing. It doesn't have to necessarily be 100% one side or the other, but it's just allowing that openness, the awareness and the openness of it makes this journey easier for you to find that path of least resistance, at least in my personal experience. And it sounds like you had a very similar experience and way of
Yeah.
thinking too, right? Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I had a gentleman when I was younger tell me, boy, you talk a lot, but you have two ears and you have to listen twice as much as you speak. So I said, boy, then they better talk fast, right? And and I laughed, but I got it. You know, we can go to college, we can get masters, PhDs, and beyond. God, I went to school, I went back. I have, since I got my certification, we take ongoing continuing education courses, and I've got bookshelves and piles of books. I know you see me, so I'm over here looking like they're overgrowing me. Okay. And I do not like hoarding, but I'm really like, okay, I can't learn enough. It's exciting. I'm a perpetual student. That doesn't mean I have to have degrees and certifications and everything, but it's like the more you learn, the more you find your commonality with the world, with nature, with life and people. And it's exciting to do. It's easy to do, but people have to want to make up that challenge because it's called taking responsibility. And right now, a lot of people are willing to yield the responsibility for themselves to other people. And it just won't work that way.
Hmm. So, Andrea, I'd love for you to share how is it that you serve your clients?
Okay. I'm guessing you mean kind of an intake and the process.
Yeah, like is it personal one-on-one consultation? Do you typically hold workshops or how is it that you serve your clients?
The majority of what I do now is one-on-one consultations. I can do them in person. Since COVID came and offices closed and things, a lot of people can pulled away from direct meeting. And thank goodness for the power of the internet, huh? So I can do Zoom meetings. Now I can talk to anywhere, anywhere in the world, which has opened new doors for me.
Hmm.
But I prefer the one-on-one consultations, and I can do that again, either in person, via the internet, Zoom, or any other profile, and even by telephone. I still use the phone. I love to talk to people because when you're speaking, then you can really hear what people are saying.
Yeah.
So, but I do an intake. The person will tell me what's going on, if, however, electronically or in person, they'll fill out a form just like in a medical doctor's office. And you discuss your symptoms, things that are going on with you, what any medications that you are taking, and then I'll reread it to you. Because in doing that, sometimes oh, somebody's forgotten something, but then I can say, oh, and tell me about your home life. Are you married? No, I went through a horrible divorce. Really? How long ago? Okay. Do you have children? Are your children at home? Are they in college? Are you stressing over what? Are you having a hard time paying those bills? Okay, so the more I can connect with the person, the more I'm learning about what I should be scribbling down here. Okay, I like this oil for this. And they said A, B, and C, and I'm writing that down. Okay, and I have not yet taken that and compared it to any contradictions for medications. I'm just hearing what they need, and I know that these oils work on X, Y, and Z.
Hmm.
At that time, I start asking them about their scent, SCENT preference. Do you like earthy things? Do you like roots? Do you like rosy flowers or gardenias? How do you feel about lavender? Everybody talks about lavender. And let me interject here. Lavender, for some people, because it's in the daisy family, can be very allergic and cause lots of problems. So lavender is not the
Hmm.
cure-all for anything. But then once I do that, then I know, okay, well, don't give them something floral, they won't use it.
Yeah.
And the only reason, see, with aromatherapy, yes, the scent is fabulous. And you're
Hmm.
trying to create a scent either for a male or a female that they will like, that they will use.
Hmm.
Because if they're not using it, it's doing no good. But it's not the aroma that's doing the curing, it's the chemical constituents that are in the oil. So across the line, there are so many oils and so many chemical constituents that you can mix a million different ways. And then again, I picks up the package. I either deliver it to them directly or send it in the mail, and I follow up. I usually say I'm going to give you a 7 to 10 day window to use this, but in that 7 to 10 day window, here's my number. If anything unnerves you, you're uncomfortable, you forgot, you need some help with, call me. I am
Hmm.
accessible by the phone.
Hmm.
Send me a text. I can reply. And if I can't get to you, I'll do it then. And then I follow up in the second week. And after the second week, take notes. Tell me what you're feeling, how you're feeling. Is this improving? Is that improving? Are you sleeping better? Are your stomach cramping less? Has the swelling in your leg gone down? And once we get past that 7 or 10 days, we have a follow-up meeting. How are you feeling? If it's going well, do you want to change it out? Do you want to continue with this? And we go on that way.
Yeah.
If it's a continual process that's going to take longer than we usually, I touch base every 2 weeks with a client, no more than 2 weeks.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. So, Andrea, you mentioned that you love reading a lot of books. I'm curious, is a book you can recommend to our audience if they have interest in either aromatherapy or just living more of a holistic life? Like which book can that comes up for you had a positive
My
impact for
first
you?
book that had a very positive impact. I was given a long time ago. Louise L. Hay, Hay, Heal Your Body. It's a very small paperback, but it addresses mental causes for physical illness
Hmm.
and metaphysical ways to overcome them. Ironically, over the years of my illness, I would look in that book about L5. Why do I feel like my heart is palpitating? And it's caused by A, B, and C. And this is, nice mantra that you can use to say daily.
Hmm.
So I love her and I use her with my clients. I always send them something that they can say or that they can do, and that's going to inspire them too. For aromatherapy, the book Essential Oils, Natural Remedies. It's an A to Z reference of essential oils for health and healing. That's by Althea Press. And then anything by Elizabeth Ashley. She has books specifically on women's issues, on vetiver and individual oils, as well as holistic. So if you look up the name Elizabeth Ashley, it's a take your choice of her things. And last but not least, another simple, common book that people could buy and use in their home and begin practicing on their own would be Lori Hargis, Hargis, and her book is Common Sense, Scents, as in smell, a practical guide to aromatherapy.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I'll include that all in the show notes so it'll be easily accessible for folks. So, Andrea, second to last question I'll ask. I ask this to all of my guests, which is if the time machine was real, if the DeLorean was real, and we can travel back in time at any given moment where you can meet your younger self, how far back would you travel and what message would you share with your younger self?
Wow. That's really, really good question. The message I would share is probably quicker than what particular age. So I think I'll share the message first. And the message would be is to remain hopeful, never give up. I have watched people die. I have lost people to suicide. I've lost both my parents. And there have been many, many highs and lows in life. And there have been many times I didn't particularly take it well. But I did find at this point in my life that no matter what you go through, you're going to come out on the other side. You really are. And how you come out depends on how you hold your head together, so that mind, body, and spirit, cherish it, take care of yourself, and everything else will come together.
Yeah. And with that message of hope, is there a particular time or age you can think back on where being able to meet that
I
younger
needed
self?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I probably really knew that since we're talking about being honest and real. I probably knew that when you first answered it. My dad drank a lot. And although he was a genius and in a place where at that time in his life, it just was a lot of conflict for him, and he took it out on my mother. My mother died when I was in college, but when I first went home, it was Thanksgiving, and I was the one who took her to the hospital. I didn't think she was going to be diagnosed with cancer and end up dying. And for many years, I kind of felt like it was my fault. And there was a point in there that I froze my life. I didn't let people in. I mean, my college years, I had friends and I had found my career early, and that's all I did. I didn't really care about having lots of friends or going out and doing things that most people do. I just had that negative tunnel vision. And if I could do anything different, it would be in that time where I would accept the things that I could not change and move forward.
Ooh, yeah, I felt that. Thank you for sharing that, Andrea.
Thank you.
So, Andrea, last question, which is where can our listeners find you?
You gave me an easy one this time. Okay. Again, I'm always accessible by phone or cell. Contact me, call me, text me at 614-670-2108. My website is earthsownessentials.com and Facebook and Instagram, Earth's Own Essentials. And on the website, if you would like, you scroll down on the landing page, there's a contact me form at the bottom that you can fill out and I'll receive too.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And I'll include all our information in the show notes so people will make it easier for them to connect with you if they feel inspired. It's been such a pleasure today. Thank you so much for sharing so generously. I can feel your energy and your sharing and just your way of being. And I'm grateful to be able to connect with you. So shout out to Brooke for connecting us and also just whatever I can to help amplify your light, please let me know.
Thank you. Thank you. And back at you. Anybody that I can help, please feel free to contact me. Have a great
Fantastic.
day, Ben.
You too.
Thank you so much.
Folks, I hope you enjoyed today's interview with Andrea today. If there's a quote I can share that best captures the essence of today's interview, it is this: the art of healing comes from nature, not from the physician. Therefore, the physician must start from nature with an open mind. This quote was from Paracelsus, a Swiss physician and alchemist. If you feel inspired by Andrea's interview, please share this interview with someone you feel can benefit from hearing her story. I also invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so to this Boom Vision podcast if you are ready to thrive together mentally, physically, and spiritually. Until next time, folks, be kind to yourself. Be in delight. Be you. Thank you so much for tuning in to my Boom Vision podcast. If you'd like to find out more about me and this podcast, head over to benjaminyeh.com. That's spelled BenjaminYeh.com. If you haven't already, click subscribe, and I'll catch you next time.